Stay with me as I break down the JAMB Use of English and where to expect questions from, so that you will not fall into the traps that majority of JAMB students are falling into. I also shared the memorization techniques that I use for memorizing difficult and unfamiliar words. I will also be sharing strategies I use for studying my novel. Hello guys, welcome back home and welcome back to another episode of how to score above 300 in JAMB. And if this is your first time of watching my videos, I am Raphael and currently a pharmacy student at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. If you can watch till the end of this video, I have a special gift for you. Most people are not talking about the use of English because they think that the use of English is simple. I've even heard some saying that you should pay less attention to the use of English, without knowing that the use of English deserves equal attention you give to your other three core subjects, because the use of English also has 100 marks apportioned to it as the other three subjects. The use of English can make or mar your score. I discussed more about how the use of English made me score lower than my expectations in this video. The use of English has the most number of questions you'll be answering in this JAMB examination. It is a total of 60 questions, while the other three subjects are just 40 questions. And these 60 questions is divided into three sections, which are section A, section B, and section C. Section A is also known as comprehension and summary section, and it carries a total of 25 marks. Also, this section A is further divided into three components, which are comprehension passage, cloze passage, and then your reading test, which is your novel. You will be reading one comprehension passage which will consist of 5 questions, but because it's just a total of 5 questions doesn't mean you should not prepare for it. Comprehension questions most times are tricky and require some skills. Time will fail me to explain all the skills in this video. Some of your textbooks and your past questions would help you build skills in this section. The second category in section A is the cloze test, and this consists of a passage where they will remove some words and tell you to fill the missing words. It's going to be a total of 10 questions, and it's going to be something like this. Most times it comes from words relating to a particular profession, maybe journalism, medicine, law, and the rest. What you really need here is to get versed with the use of words and also practice your past questions so that you can get familiar with how to answer questions from this. The third subcategory of section A is your reading test, which is your novel. Do not just read your novel just for the sake of reading. Practice active reading while studying your novel, and make sure you jot down questions while studying your novel. Some of the questions you'll be answering in the novel are not directly answered by the novel. It requires some critical thinking. A question like, what's the point of view of this novel? And they might also ask, who is the narrator? So those questions require critical analysis of the novel. But it's important you know that you are only going to see 10 questions from the novel. Then the second category, which is section B, which is also known as lexics and structure, has a total of 25 questions, just like section A. But this section has 4 subcategories, which are sentence interpretation, antonyms, synonyms, and basic grammar. Under sentence and interpretation, you will be given 5 questions, and they are something like this. Stuff like idioms and the rest, but they are just 5 questions. Then antonyms, which is word and opposite, will have 5 questions under it, while synonyms, which has to do with nearest in meaning, also has 5 questions under it, and making them a total of 10 questions. Someone once asked me, how were you able to memorize antonyms and synonyms? Because you know, some of these words in antonyms and synonyms, they are just strange words that you have not even seen before. But how was I able to memorize it? I know that most of you will jot it down in your English notebook and also include the meaning, which is not too bad, but this is not the best way to memorization. The method I use that I will also recommend that you use is to actively use these words. So what do I mean by actively using the words? I'll give you an example. I will use this word as an example. The first time I met the word haggle, I was baffled, like, what's the meaning of haggle? And I checked in the dictionary and I saw that haggle means to bargain something, and I was looking for a way to really remember that word. And what came to my mind was when I will always go to the market with my mom. Remember, Nigerian moms, they always like to price things. So most times I'm embarrassed whenever I'm going with her, because no matter how low the price is, she will always try to bargain, which is for me embarrassing. So what I did was to use that word in that scenario. So I now wrote it down in my notebook like this: my mother always haggle whenever we go to the market. So with this, whenever I remember haggle, I always remember my mom. But I also noticed that whenever I go to the market with my dad, he's not always haggling like my mom. He will always consent to whatever they are saying. So I was like, what's the opposite of haggle? And I saw that the opposite of haggle was concur. So I also went to my notes and I wrote it like this: my mother always haggle when we go to the market, but my father will always concur to the price. So it's that simple. Whenever I remember haggle and concur, I remember my mom and my dad. I will also recommend that you use this active method of learning and also try to include it in your speech, in your daily speech. Do not just write it down under your notebook. Also try to use it in conversations. Also be careful about these antonyms and synonyms, because in the exam hall they might be asking you about antonyms and you will mistakenly think that they are talking about synonyms because you are in a haste to write the exam. So make sure you read the instruction before answering them. Another subcategory of section B is the basic grammar, and it contains a total of 10 questions and has to do with something like this. It also has to do with correct and incorrect spellings. Know the correct spelling of words and also verb usage and the rest. Then the final section is section C. But before I go further, are you not already learning a lot from this video? Why not click the like button, click the subscribe button, and also click the notification icon so that you'll be notified the next time I release my videos. This section C is also known as the oral forms, that is oral English. And surprisingly, it's just a total of 10 questions, and it is divided into 5 categories, which are vowels, consonants, rhymes, word stress, and the emphatic stress. And each of these consists of 2 questions. For the vowels, you need to know how to identify different types of vowels and how to differentiate them. Same with consonants. Also, you need to know the correct pronunciation of some words. Rhymes has to do with something like this, and also word stress has to do with something like this. Emphatic stress also has to do with something like this. Who doesn't know emphatic stress? If you don't know about it, please just go and learn it now, because they are the cheapest questions you will see in the use of English, although they can be tricky at times, but they are very cheap. So what can you do with this information? Since you have known all the subcategories and the categories you are going to get the questions from, so instead of just focusing your attention on the novel or just synonyms and antonyms, I've been able to explain where to also channel your attention to. Remember, I promised you a gift if you can stay to the end of this video. Thanks for staying, and check the video description because I have a gift for you there, a book that you can use for preparing for this examination. And if you enjoyed this video, also try to watch this video.